Om Sadashiva Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Mochi Veda Vibhagine Vyo Mabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Sava Vedanta Siddhanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatoshvaham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. So last class we have seen that that parabola, that story. And then after all the debates came this Ashatavakra, the son of a certain sage. He heard that his father was thrown on the sea, and he came to take revenge. And then he has won the debate with the Brahmin that was there to take everybody to the sacrifice of his own god, which was the god of water. So afterward, Ashatavakra, he developed a certain vanity and ego, and then he started misbehaving with the crowd, and then it showed up that beautiful female entity who somehow tried to correct him, and she presented that beautiful question. So, what is the condition? What is the knowledge which established the mind on a certain condition, reaching which there will be all-round immortality? So you see that nothing was born and nothing will ever die, knowing which all doubts and uncertainties will disappear. Doubts, uncertainties, and uncertainty in respect to what? In respect to what you are. And as far as the phenomenal world, so you don't even get excited about doubts and uncertainties, because you are just at rest, because you know that Ishvara knows everything. We don't need to know. He knows everything, so that we do not need to know much, of anything. And knowing which the mind, establishing which desires they are neutralized. So one in that state, due to that kind of knowledge, neutralizes or cancels one desires for completion, because every desire is a desire for completion. Subconsciously, most samsaris do not know. So if you have realized that, please tell me. But tell me if you have realized that. She said, tell me directly. Well, we could read it. If you have realized that directly, please tell us. And then the ascetic answer presented a reply with full of pride and confidence. And then he started quoting the scripture beautifully, like a great master. It is pure, unbroken. It's one without a second. The whole world is manifest in consciousness, in that state, in that knowledge, like a seat reflecting a mirror. Such is the transcendental knowledge, the transcendental state. On realizing that, one becomes immortal. There is no place for doubts and uncertainties, and there is none at the sight of reflection. In a mirror, there is no more reason for ignorance as at the sight of innumerable reflected images, and there will be no more room for desire, because transcendence beyond desires and fears, likes and dislikes, is the nature of that state. it's also unbroken because there is no one to know it besides itself. So it's, sorry, I read it wrongly. And then I was saying it does not make much sense. It says that it is unknowable because there is no one to know it itself, or not to know it besides itself. So we're going to look at this topic once again today in respect to self-knowledge, and in which way it is unknowable and which way it is knowable. So here, this is a very good assertion, because it says it is unknowable because there is no one to know besides itself. If consciousness is one without a second, who is going to know consciousness? So only the self is able to know the self as itself. So is it something that nobody will ever know? Because if reality is non-dual, so there is no second part that can know reality. So, but it is consciousness realizing itself. It's the self realizing itself through the Jiva-Atma. In other words, to make it maybe a little more simple, the Jiva-Atma knowing its nature as Atma. That's why the Jiva-Atma has this status, this title as Jiva-Atma. Jiva-Atma knowing itself as Atma, the self, consciousness. And then he says, ascetic, now I told you the truth, as contained in the scriptures. Yeah, very good, good answer, correct. You got a full mark. You passed the test. So after he had finished, the hermit spoke again. Young sage, what you say is rightly said and accepted by all the scriptures, but I draw your attention to that part of your answer where you admitted its unknowability for desire, for lack of a knower outside of consciousness. So I want you to further explain a contradiction in your answer. So you have emphasized that it's unknowable because there is nothing other than itself. So there is no one side that can know the other side. But at the same time, you say that knowledge confers perfection, happiness, and immortality. So you say there is a certain knowledge, but then you say, but it's unknowable. It's great contradiction. And she wants to pull him by, to catch him in that contradiction, because only then you're going to see if the knowledge is true self-knowledge or academic self-knowledge. If it's academic self-knowledge, the person, how can I explain that? I did not have the direct knowledge experience of my own nature, so the Yanni knows, and then one can put words to that strange condition. How are these two statements to be reconciled? Either admit that consciousness is unknowable and it's not known to you, and thus conclude its non-existence, or say that it is knowable and you know it, and therefore it is not unknowable. So you evidently speak from a second-hand knowledge, academic knowledge, gathered from the scriptures. Clearly, you have not realized the self, and your knowledge is not direct personal knowledge. So you have not made this knowledge yours. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Swami Dayananda used to put it in those terms: make this knowledge yours. Okay. So it's not that, now I possess my knowledge, so I can sign underneath and say, no, I am the knower of this knowledge. So don't make this knowledge yours, means to say incorporate it, integrate it, put it to the test and realize it, that there is such a knowledge. And I am a living proof of this knowledge. Now, this is making the knowledge yours. Huh? Otherwise, you just say that there is no knowledge. Think now, your words amount to this. You have a personal knowledge of the image, but not of the mirror. How can it be? Meaning to say, you are still looking at the reflection that occurs in consciousness, but you did not catch the reflecting medium, which fundamentally is consciousness. You understand? So therefore, you are still moving in Mitya, trying to grasp the understanding of Satya, but you did not get to that understanding, and you are lost in words, and words are reflections. So the scriptures, the verbal, the concepts and notions of the scripture are reflections in consciousness. It is Mitya. The scriptures is an expression of Mitya, and the guy is like, wow, I know everything about these scriptures. And here he is being pointed out that he knows the scripture, but scripture is Mitya. So the purpose of the scripture is not to be memorized and then taught academically. Because as we often say, Vedanta is not about the scripture, Vedanta is about you. So you need to use this teaching so that you recognize your true immortal nature as Satchitananda. You have a personal knowledge of the image. You are caught up on words, scriptural words, theory, the rational aspect, but the rational aspect of the scripts only serve the purpose to remove your ignorance, to reveal yourself, which is the purpose of the scriptures. The old analogy of getting a thorn on your foot as you walk on the woods, and then you need to have another Mitya, warm to pull the other one. So we need Mitya knowledge to cancel Mitya ignorance, When we neutralize Mitya knowledge and Mitya ignorance, and then what's revealed is the light of consciousness in which knowledge and ignorance neutralize one another. And then she pokes him a little bit and says, so you should be ashamed of this prevarication. And right here before this King Janaka and his assembly, being thus reprimanded by the ascetic. So the young sage, the son of the sage that was thrown in the water, but then it was rescued and so on, he was a little bit ashamed. He could not even speak for some time. He was like, now I was caught. Thanks God I was caught. We're going to see that his attitude is not denial and counterattack. His attitude is recognizing, and becoming a disciple, which is very rare to find someone who is so entrenched in one's academic knowledge to accept, recognize, and admit, that this is worth nothing because it's not really my knowledge, is the knowledge of the scriptures, not the knowledge about my true nature. I'm just a parrot. Yeah. He was mortified and somewhat ashamed. He kept his head bent, and he was just thinking over everything, thinking it over. However, the Brahmin youth could not find any satisfactory answer to her question. So he submitted to her in great humility. So a lot of the time when we have someone presenting us with some sort of knowledge, Mitya knowledge or self-knowledge, anyhow, the ego has a hard time to receive. And then we don't really let it in, things that we received here and there, because the ego is wrapped up around its own notions and ideas. And then there's not much room. It pushes away and then counterattacks with more notions to reinforce one's position. Yeah? But here, he had a very good reaction, which was unexpected. He submitted to her in great humility. Oh, ascetic, truly, I cannot find the answer to what you present me with. I submit to you as your disciple. Yeah? How beautiful. How beautiful that passage in the Bhagavad Gita, in which Arjuna just says, okay, so I have been trying to come out of this crisis, but I can't. Please help me. I am your disciple. And furthermore, he says, so teach me. So he wants a teaching guru. He did not want a guiding guru in the sense, okay, tell me what to do. Shall I fight? Shall I kill the other? And Arjuna, Krishna Guru would just say, no, just trying to understand. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you need to understand. And ultimately, for your good and for the good of humanity, you need to do the right thing. And then he says, I don't know how to reconcile this contradiction, but I assure you that I have not told a deliberate lie. So I was being pretentious, but I was ignorant. I was not aware of my pretension and my vanity, of the vanity of my ego. Therefore, I can be, I would say, forgot. How you say? I can be forgiven. I can be forgiven. Why? Because I was not aware of my vanity, and I was not believing that, okay, I am ignorant, and I'm going to try to hide it and deceive everybody. There are different levels of ignorance. There is the ignorance of someone who is not aware of his ignorance and pretends to be wise, and this is really a big thing, because I'm deliberately trying to deceive people. But there is an ignorance that I am ignorant and I am not aware of my ignorance, and somehow I thought that ignorance is wisdom and vice versa. So that is forgivable, okay? And especially when someone comes with this attitude, I was not trying to deceive or lie. I know that any merits a liar may have are counteracted by his lies, so he is condemned as unworthy. I would never lie because I understand Dharma, and I know that it would counteract it with all my virtues. Yeah? So I'm not stupid. I understand Dharma and Adharma. Thus requested, the ascetic was pleased with the young disciple sincerity and said to him in the hearings of the assembly, child, there are many who being ignorant of these sublime truths, live in a state of delusion. You are not alone. There are many people that are ignorant and they fall into delusion. The ultimate delusion is to believe that I know, I am an enlightened being, I am a great Jnani, this is very common. The intellect receives the teachings and then it's a little bit rush, does not have enough humility and patience. And then it declares to itself that I am a great Jnani. This is delusion. Many people are ignorant and fall for this delusion, she says. And then they go into the field of dry polemics. And dry polemics is not helping them either. For it is well guarded on all sides. of all the people now assembled here, no one has experienced reality. And then she's saying there is a huge assembly there of all these pandits. They have great knowledge about the scriptures. And she, with full certainty and confidence, she states, of everyone here, no one is a Jnani here except the king Janaka. You understand? Even people who have more scripture knowledge than Janaka, they are deluded. Okay? No one has really realized the self except the king and myself. You see that she's not saying that with a sense of vanity or pride or ego, you know. The Jnani many times say things that may appear, oh, why you say that you are Jnani? No, I don't say I am a Jnani. But it transpires that I am a Jnani, and I don't need to hide it to play false modesty or false, you know. You just say, I mean, it's simple. And the Jnani is never discussing. The Jnani is never going into discussions about the scriptures or this and that. People who are all the time in dry polemic, discussing how much they know, they are trying to convince themselves to begin with. The Jnani only presents self-knowledge to those who approach him or her and ask questions. That has been my approach. The Jnani is not concerned about what people think of him either. You know, you cannot expect respect or appreciation from others, you know. So those are all signs of a Jnani. Yeah? The most brilliant logic can only approach it, but never attain it. Although unaffected by logic, coupled with a keen intellect, it can, however, be realized by service to one's guru and the grace of God. So now we have this point, that I heard sometimes Ramji trying to make sense of this statement, this thing about serves to the guru, you know. And I was never much impressed or convinced by any twist we give to it, because service to guru, it may apply to those days in which there was a gurukulas in the forest. And then if you want to learn the scriptures, you have to go there and humble yourself to the gurukula, and then work until you develop certain qualities to listen to the teachings. In that sense, we can say, however, it can be realized by service to one's guru. The grace of God we understand, because the grace of God, we clearly understand that grace must be earned. No? So it's the system is going to grace us with favorable circumstance to the extent that I grow and I develop and I live a dharmic life in the pursuit of self-knowledge and moksha. Yeah? But what to say about the service to the guru? Yeah? So the only thing I can imagine, because what is guru after all? Guru is that guru, removal of ignorance, right? So the ultimate guru is Ishvara. And Ishvara reveals these teachings, yeah? That we call the scriptures. Yeah? So the guru is that which removes ignorance. So scripture removes the ignorance. But there is Ishvara, but I cannot serve Ishvara. Can I serve Ishvara? No. Oh, yes, if I am a karma yogi, if I understood. But on a practical sense, how am I going to serve the guru? No? I serve the scripture because the scripture is the guru, right? So I serve the scripture. And how I serve the scripture, there is a passage that I think in Dayananda's teaching somewhere where he says, the scriptures have held me by my hand and guided me carefully outside of samsara, protect me through this journey until I was safe outside of samsara. So scripture had done all of that to us, has protected us and has saved us, conduced us off the limits of suffering. So now I want to give something back to the Guru, which is the scriptures. I want to protect the scriptures as well. And then Nanda presents this teaching somewhere there beautifully, saying that the duty of every Vedantine who really understands the Sampradaya is to protect the scripture, because the scripture is the Guru. You understand? And how we protect it, we stay with it, we live from it, we demonstrate it, and we try to share as a means to preserve the scriptures. So we don't need to keep it. So I say, no, share, okay, but I cannot push it into everyone. But it's anytime, everywhere that is possible, I can always present a pointer in regards to the scripture, because the more we share and we promote the scriptures, better chance we have to preserve it. You understand? Because as we see in societies nowadays, the scriptures and all expressions of spirituality, motion, is being suppressed, oppressed. So the scripture is the Guru, the service to the scripture, which involves protecting, and we protect it by sharing it. The grace of God we earn through our own efforts. Although who art thyself, the son of the sage, she's talking to him again, listen to me carefully, for this is hard to understand, even when hearing it explained. So now listen to this. It's very subtle, it's profound, and I'm going to solve this apparent contradiction in your own words. It appears even in the scriptures. That's why we need a guru. It's hard to understand, even when it is unfolded in detail. So when it is not only condensed in a verse, but even when it's unfolded in several pages, it's not easily understood. Hearing it 1,000 times over will be useless unless one verifies the teachings by means of investigation into the self with a qualified, concentrate, focused mind. Beautiful, potent. So if you just hear it over and over and over again, it happens very often in the Vedanta circles. Oh no, I got it. This one I understood. Oh no, you can over 1,000 times, but it will be useless unless what? You verify the teachings. How you verify the teaching? You put it to the test. Apply it in your life. Let the teachings, transform you by applying the teachings over and over again. No matter how many times you fail to succeed, to stand as consciousness, but you just do that all through your day. So unless one puts it to the test, apply it at all times. This is nididhyasana. This is application of self-knowledge until it's firm, until it's hard fast. And you need a concentrated mind. If the mind is scattered and dispersed, okay, it's difficult. That's why then this is very profound Upanishadic teaching, that this whole book never touched the subject of Kama Yoga, but we know that, we need Kama Yoga before anything. And we need even Upasana Yoga to get concentrated mind, one-pointed mind, you understand? Everything has its place. Just as a prince labors under a misapprehension that the string of pearls still clinging to his neck has been stolen away by another, and is not persuaded to the contrary by mere words, but only believes when he finds it around his own neck. And that will be possible only by his own effort. So no matter how many times people say you are what you are searching for, no matter how many times we hear that, the the necklace, the what you say, the neck. How you say the thing that you put on the neck something?
The necklace.
Necklace?
Necklace, yeah.
Yeah. No matter how many times people tell you the necklace is on your neck, you know, how many times people are going to tell you that you are whole, full, and complete because you are not the mind, you are not the body, you are what you are trying to accomplish. You don't need to accomplish because you are already that. But it does not work until one, by one's effort, understand that directly. Verifies the teachings. Do one's inquiry, one's nididhyasana, until one is absolutely convinced of one's nature as consciousness. Or use, however clever a man may be, he will never know his own self by the mere teaching of others unless he makes these teachings his own, unless he realizes it for himself. So realization, Aham Brahmasmi, is a very intriguing one, because we have to comprehend it intellectually to begin with. But intellectual self-knowledge alone does not do the job. Somehow this intellectual understanding has to be so clear and so profound that it produces this last click of understanding, or the removal of the last residual doubts in respect to that. And then this teaching becomes direct, doubtless self-knowledge, which begins with a clear, doubtless intellectual knowledge. Understand? You hear, you contemplate, and you contemplate, you contemplate, you contemplate, and then a day comes that you have no doubt in regards to that. And then some people say, okay, and then I don't need to do any more nididhyasana. I don't need to listen to the satsangs or everything. Yes, but it's always better to keep association with the guru and the teachings. And why? Why the difficulty? The difficulty is because one's mind is turned outwardly. You listen to the teachings, and the mind is so outwardly oriented that you think that the self is somewhere out there in an experience. This is extroversion. This is outwardly orientation of the mind. I listen to the teachings, and I keep looking for the self somewhere out there. And then somebody tells, no, it's you. And the intellect is still, due to this profound hardwired vasana, projects the self in a mystical celestial experience. which happens within himself as consciousness. So this outwardly orientation of the mind is the final obstacle. I have experienced that firsthand, the idea that I want to know God, I want to know God, I want to know God. And my prayers was, I know that you and me are one and the same. Oh, look how stupid I used to pray like that. I know and you and me are one and the same, but I need to meet you face to face. Can you believe that, Mark? I used to verbalize my prayers on those terms. I did not know Vedanta, but I heard some fragments of the Jnana Yoga, of the Upanishads. I know that you and me are one and the same, but yet I need to meet you face to face. This is the last obstacle for self-knowledge. Once it is intellectual understanding of the body of knowledge presented by Vedanta is a doubtless intellectual self-knowledge. A lamp illumines all around, but does not illumine itself or any other light. So we have a lamp, the light of consciousness, and we take as a parallel a lamp. The lamp is going to illumine a certain area around itself. And does the lamp illumine itself? That's a very philosophical question. Does the lamp illumine itself? And here it says, no, it does not, because it is self-luminous. The act of illumining something implies duality. I am illumining the objects around me. So the lamp can never illumine itself because, it's one and it's self-contained with light and luminosity. So it shines of itself without other source of light. But I can illumine another light. No, the other light is also self-luminous. Every light, as an analogy, is self-luminous. You don't need another light to illumine another light. Things shine in the sunlight without the necessity for any other kind of illumination. During the day, it's useless. We turn on the lights in the garden because, what are you going to do? Just pay more electrical bill? Because lights do not require to be illumined. Consciousness does not require another source of consciousness to illumine and reveal itself. Otherwise, consciousness would not be a non-dual reality. They do not require to be illumined. Do we say that they are not known and that they do not exist? And then the lamp, the light, the sunlight, because it cannot be illumined by anything else. Nothing can illumine the light, the sunlight that you experience during the day. Okay, because it's self-luminous. And because of that, can we infer that it's not known or that this sunlight does not exist? Because nothing can objectify and illumine and reveal it. So there is no other light that's going to illumine the sunlight, and likewise, there is no other awareness that's going to know or to reveal awareness point 2, awareness 1, 2, 3, and that infinite sequence that some people come to the extreme delusion to conceive. Lights and things being insentient cannot be self-aware. Still, their existence or manifestations is under no doubt. Lights and things being insentient cannot be self-aware, still their existence or manifestation is under no doubt. That means that they are self-luminous. Okay, even light, the sunlight and the sun, we know that is insentient. We know it's not self-aware. It's matter, energy. It's still their existence, the manifest existence, is under no doubt. That means that they are self-luminous. Can you not similarly investigate with an inward mind, that making a parallel in order to find out if the all-comprehending self is conscious or not conscious? So is this all-comprehending self illumining and revealing everything, or it is insentient? So in the analogy here, we know that lights and things are insentient, and yet, we cannot doubt their existence and their attribute, the quality of self-luminosity, because they don't require another source of light to illumine and reveal itself. So how about consciousness? So investigate on those lines with contemplated mind in order to find out if the self or consciousness, which comprehends everything, is conscious or not conscious. So is this consciousness inert, or is this consciousness the only source of sentience? That consciousness is absolute and transcends the three states of wakefulness, dream, and deep sleep, and comprises all the universe, making it manifest. That consciousness is absolute, transcends all the three states. It means what? That is, we know within the scope of our human experience that we have three mental states on which we have different experiences. The consciousness is absolute, transcends these three states, yes, and there is no other consciousness to validate or to provide it with consciousness or awareness. So it's self-contained. Therefore, it's absolute. It's not relative. When we did the teaching of the Viveka, the seer and the seen, Drisha Viveka, the seer and the seen, we know that there are several relative seers, and there is one absolute seer. The absolute seer is the one that can see everything, but is never seen. So this is what it is. That's what the scripture refers here, that consciousness is the absolute seer. Sagadatta used to like this, the absolute, and transcends the three states, of course, and comprises all the universe, making it manifest. Nothing can be apprehended without this consciousness, which is the only source of conscious existence, and therefore is the only reality, the only absolute reality. What is absolute reality? Is something that is free and independent of any other factor. So anything depends on other factors. So the three worlds of awake state, dream, and deep sleep depends on other factors. They don't stand on their own, therefore they come and go. They appear and disappear. But the absolute reality is what? Is a reality that's never not present, because it's the only source. Whereas the three states are going to present us with three realms of reality that we call it relative realities, apparent realities. in this context, relative in the sense that it's going to depend on certain mental state, a certain agent, and a certain universe that occurs as a reflection in that mental state. There are several factors that are going to produce these three states. But consciousness is free and independent on any possible imaginable factor. And within this consciousness, the universe appears and disappears. Everything happens within us, consciousness. Nothing is possible. Nothing can be apprehended without this chit aspect of Brahman, consciousness, the light of knowledge. Will anything be appearing to you if there be no consciousness? Of course not. No, my mind can know things, and I don't buy into this consciousness thing, you know. Okay, but the mind is known to whom? And then the person is going to scratch their head and say, the mind is not my, the mind knows everything, but the mind is known to whom? Huh? So the mind is known to something else. And this something else should be the end of the line, because it's the absolute knower. There will be anything known to you if there is no this consciousness. Even to say that nothing is apparent to you in deep sleep requires consciousness, of course. Huh? Oh no, there is a certain situation, condition in which there is nothing, there is emptiness, the void of deep sleep. So how do you know the void? How do you know the absence of the world? Either words. No? So any knowledge can only appears within the chit aspect of consciousness, the knowledge aspect of Brahman, or the knowledge aspect of existence. So we know that nothing was experienced in deep sleep. And I must have captured that experience somehow in a very subtle level, so that in retrospective, I know that I was extremely happy because there was nothing going on. Everything, nothing escapes consciousness, as we have been saying. Is not your awareness of your unawareness in deep sleep? Was you aware of experiencing nothing? Not experience nothing, but there was not even a tangible experiencing entity like in the other two states. So you are aware of your ignorance in the sleep state. Yes, I was not there in the sleep state, therefore there was no duality, because the moment that there is aham, there is idam, the world appearing. So I was there, and I was totally aware of total ignorance in my deep sleep. So that was happening in consciousness, and consciousness somehow allows me in recollection to know that state. Everybody knows the state of deep sleep. And everybody enjoys it. If you infer its eternal light, then closely investigate whether the light is of itself or not. By logic, following the teachings, in the light of the teachings, by logic, you can use a lot of inference knowledge. So Vedanta, self-knowledge is not inferential knowledge, but Vedanta use inference as a means to do this viveka, this inquiry. Yeah? If you infer the eternal light of your awareness, then closely investigate whether this light is self-contained, meaning to say it's absolute or it is borrowed light. You infer that there is a light that allows even the void of deep sleep to be apprehended. Now that you infer that there is this light through the three states, closely investigate whether this light is absolute or borrowed light. We know that the light that we experience in the three states, even in the deep sleep, but more specifically in the waking and the dreaming state. So they are borrowed light. They are reflections that occur in the subtle body that somehow reflects those two different worlds, the dream world and the awake world. Consciousness is there, illuminating my environment and revealing the object. So this is borrowed light. But unless I understand that I'm borrowing this light to my own dreamer, I'm borrowing this light to my own awaker. Right, Lynn? Did you get that? Don't get distracted with the love you feel for your cat, please.
I've been thinking a lot about distraction of late, and when they're talking about a concentrated mind, how difficult that is in this time of Kali Yuga with all the distractions, the lack of sleep, everything is, nothing is simple. It's like, what's the one of the 6 disciplines, uparati, withdrawal, and I've been trying to do a little bit more of that. Found a great book called Stolen Focus, which talks about all the ways in which we are so impacted with all this that it's very hard to come to that simple abidance or deep thinking, that's required for Vedanta. But it's a real challenge today.
Yeah, and especially for an American, and it's difficult to ask what I'm going to ask you right now. But did you get rid of your TV yet?
No, but no. And I'm trying to cure myself of being a news junkie. And I haven't, but what I have withdrawn from is the types of disturbing television, less news, none of the stuff that includes the violence or stuff like that. So much more time spent. Have you gotten rid of your TV, Arlindo?
I couldn't because I never really had it. But
it's great.
now
If only that were the case.
I was a spiritual vagabond, as I say, since a young age, and then I did not carry a TV around the world on my journey. But in the USA, I bought a TV, but I bought only to watch soccer, Italian, European soccer, because I was working so hard, I had no time. And some movies once in a while. But I was never a TV junk. And but nowadays you can now be proud I don't have a TV because we have internet that is the same thing,
as seriously distracting as any TV. But you can, with a smart TV, you can see videos and mirror them onto your television set. So you can go to YouTube and see Swami Dayananda or Arlindo.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, TV, there's nothing wrong with TV if you use it wisely. And the same thing with the internet, but it requires discipline because meanwhile, most of us developed a huge vasana or dependence on that kind of stimulus that come all the time through these devices. No?
It's horrible.
Yeah, but we make an effort. If you infer this eternal light, then closely investigate whether the light is of itself or not. Everybody fails in this investigation, however learned and proficient he may be, because his mind is not bent inwardly by relentless moves outward. Then here there is an answer for what we just spoke now. Distractive mind, relentless mind that moves onwardly, this extroversion tendency of the mind, that is always looking out. So this is part of what we accomplish by Karma Yoga, that greatly helps the process of purification of the mind, improvement of the mind, development of mental qualifications. Because the mind is not bent inwardly. The mind is still dominate for more rajas than it needs, and then has this tendency to look out. And I was just talking, you disappeared in the video, but I think you probably heard, even when the mind is very contemplative, is really doing a deep inquiry, still there is a very subtle outwardly tendency, okay, to look for the self somewhere in a divine experience. You understand? So, but in a more dense level, the mind is has this vasana, is bent outwardly, and that requires a lot of effort to discipline and to minimize that vasana. As long as thoughts crop up, as long as the turning inwardly of the mind is difficultly accomplished. Thoughts. So there are different ways to move inwardly. Yeah? So the world appears to us, and then it's attractive in most cases, and we want to go out there to squeeze some juice and happiness and so on. But then, as we know, we develop our mental private world, and then these thoughts, they crop up again and again in my conscious mind. And that is, again, an inwardly tendency. So I want to engage my thoughts. So the idea is not to suppress the thoughts, but much less to engage your thoughts, but to develop the ability to think, in harmony, with the wisdom revealed by the scriptures. Otherwise, we're going to be moving, engaging our thoughts, trying to improve our thoughts, but we seem samsara. Yeah. So the mind is going to be there, thoughts are going to come, but we want to develop this Vedantic Upanishad perspective so that we think in line with this wisdom. Yeah? So as long as the mind is turning, has turned inward, of the mind has not been accomplished. So this tendency, this restless distraction, is an obstacle, as we know. So what to do about that? So we know the recipe: Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga. So Upasana Yoga is going to be dealing with the internal world that is still extroverting the person. Because extroversion is not only when I move towards the physical material world, but when I'm engaging too much my thoughts, which does not bring me anywhere. I should not do this and that, I don't let me consider, things about phenomenal objects, and things of media. So you need to do your mental, intellectual nididhyasana with the mind, but not engaging those ignorant thoughts in respect to samsara. We have all these bunch of thoughts in regard to samsara because we want to be happy, sorting out these thoughts in respect to samsara, the world. No, we want to engage the thoughts suggested to us by the scriptures. As long as the mind is not contemplated inward, means turning inward. As long as the mind is not turned inward, the self is difficultly realized. And even if it is realized in a moment, it can be unrealized. And this is a fact. It happens because the mind is impure, is extrovert, and then ignorance pops in again, and then you start looking for happiness in certain experience or certain objects. Turning inward means absence of desire. So how I'm going to deal with it? I want to turn it inward, but for that, I need to neutralize my desires. But for neutralizing my desires, I need to do certain nididhyasana to understand mithya and the impossibility of being happy, only depending on mithya objects of experience. So I need to deal with desire, and I need to deal at the same time with a mind which is not introspective, it is extroverted. So one thing takes to another. So I want to bring my mind to this contemplation through effort, the effort of yoga, and at the same time I need to look into my desires, because I know that desires is the one that is producing all these crops of thoughts. The thoughts, they are all about my desires and fears. So understanding, and then this joint venture between my willpower to control the mind and the intellectual power to understand the nature of ignorance, so that with these two allies, I can succeed. Because how to gain the absence of desire unless I really understand the nature of ignorance? And for that, I need to do this nididhyasana. And for nididhyasana, I need to have a certain contemplative mind to begin with. So we need to use all the tools in our disposal. Some upasana, but upasana for what? Upasana to bring about one-pointed mind, a focused mind, a concentrated mind. I don't want to do upasana thinking that I'm going to get enlightened. I don't want to do upasana thinking that I want to have a beautiful experience. No, I want to do upasana only for bringing about one-pointedness of mind. This is the intelligent approach. You cannot expect things for certain things which are not realistic. You understand? So our upasana effort is going to be of great value to bring about one-pointed, concentrate, focused mind. And then I can have this mind and then do some more nididhyasana around desire, the nature of ignorance. And then again and again, I apply the knowledge that no object of experience will really resolve me, because I'm already resolved. How can the mind be fixed inwardly if desires are not giving up? And then we go into another concept. Okay, so now I have to learn how to give up desires. How am I going to give up desires? We give up desires by understanding, like Nisargadatta used to say, understanding is all. I don't mean to say that Nisargadatta was a great teacher, but he was a great source of inspiration. How am I going to give up? Understanding. How are you going to understand? Doing an nididhyasana, following the logic in the lights of the teachings of Vedanta with the help of a guru. Okay. And for doing that, what do you need? A contemplative mind. Okay, so, but my desires are disturbing my mind, and my mind is outwarded because of the desire. So where are you going to begin? You have to approach everything as as an organic set of situations, circumstances, and conditions, you know, which is I often present as willpower and the intellectual ability to try to understand the scriptures in those moments our minds are more sattvic. So the whole process goes more or less like that. The mind is more sattvic, and then in that moment, we can understand and assimilate more the teachings, and then the mind becomes distracted. And then we don't need to fight the mind, because the only thing is the mind in that condition is not as efficient. I used to see it in myself. So I want to study the scripture of Jesus that in the old days, and my mind is distracted and so on. But then, oh my God, I need to take 2 hours just to gain the efficiency of 15 minutes. But what to do? You understand? At least I'm getting 50 minutes over the range of 2 hours, because meanwhile my mind is jumping here and there like a monkey. But at least you are getting some of it. And then when you see you are getting half an hour, and then your mind is being more disciplined, and then you can do more nididhyasana, and then the efficiency in regards to this process increase. And then another one, therefore you must become dispassionate and inherit as the self, in the self as the self. So such inherence is spontaneous. No effort is needed to inherit as the self. This again, huge contradiction. You need effort to many things, but to remain in the self as the self is absolutely effortless. But you need to make so much effort to prepare the mind to recognize Aham Brahmasmi, I am that self. And then once that is recognized, it becomes a spontaneous condition where no effort is needed, because this is a direct and immediate knowledge that somehow burns with much of those impurities that were extroverting the mind. Impurities are the desires and fears, ragas and dveshas. They are burned in the light of knowledge, in the fire of knowledge, as we say. Okie, I passed the time a little bit. I hope that nobody is discouraged, because this is the best game in town, is to purify and grow, you know? And I mean, one must do something in life. Why not to purify and grow, right? Okie dokie. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaste. Love you. See you. Today is Monday. See you this
Today is Monday.
coming Thursday, Vishwara willing. Bye bye.
Thanks, sir.
Huh?
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Arlindo. Yeah,
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, my brother.